You use the word hope, and I laugh about that because it's been coming up lately in the past half a year of my life. When we put a strategy together, and they said, "Well, what was your strategy before?" And I was like, "Hope." There
Yeah.
was no strategy, right? It was just we throw the website out there and we hope somebody finds it and it does well. Good morning, everybody. How we doing on this beautiful day? Let's see here. It is mid-July here, and I hope you guys are well. I don't know what's going on, but in San Diego, California, the flu and is just gangbusters. I don't know what it is. This is like a spring flu, but whatever. We're in July, and I've got flu. All my kids are sick, down for the count. So not been fun. Had to take the little 5-year-old to Children's Hospital on Friday night. So stay healthy, stay safe, and wash your hands quite a bit. Take it from me. Anyway, all right, we have a special guest here. We have Ryan. He's with Straventa, and they've got a really cool product here called Hyperdrive. I got the chance to meet him a couple weeks ago. We became friends and just talking a lot. I said, "Hey, can you please come on the podcast and talk to us for a little bit?" So, Ryan, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Aaron. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm stoked in this. So, a lot of people don't understand, or they do understand, but they don't want to admit it, how much a website brings business into a company. You have these companies that just they thrive on their website. It's all e-commerce. There's that world. And then you got us sign guys. And that's just a website to let us know that, yeah, we're real, but call us. There's no real way to buy signs from us, especially when you're one of the big outfits. And so the website's kind of like it's kind of a distant memory, right? It's not a real fact-finding mission for us. And we're not making a lot of money off this website. So we forget about it a lot. How many different industries do you see that where the website's just there, but it's really not doing anything for the business?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny in today's day and age, I think that notion is dying off, right? I'm not suggesting that online is going to, blow up your business by any means. We work in the services field a lot, relationship building, businesses that are high B2B as well. So not just e-commerce, but everything you can think of that requires building an actual relationship. So you think to yourself, okay, is a website really going to move the needle for our business? And the reality is it's your new online brick and mortar, and it has to be viewed as such. I always make the analogy: you wouldn't open up a coffee house and put a tent outside with a sign and serve it out of a tent, right? You want to make sure it's set up well, it's doing well, the lighting is great, like you're dialed into all the accoutrements, right? But then so many times online, we just kind of put an online brochure up, and then we wonder why it's not generating business. And so, yeah, we come across this a lot. But there's hope, as we all know. There's hope to move the needle. It doesn't have to be a huge needle to move, right? It just depends on how much you want to invest. I think that's where the water gets a little murky, right? As people overinvest in a website, they think they have to go gangbusters on the design and crazy videos and sliders. And for us, Strivena is a business growth agency, and our focus will always be on just growing a business. All the other things, they can be pretty, I guess, but if they don't have the right conversion strategy, it's not going to help you move the needle. So I think that's where our focus is a little bit different, more on the blocking and tackling, less on the sexy, right? So yeah, but we see that a lot.
No, I could definitely see that. And then for me, everybody, you use the word hope, and I laugh about that because it's been coming up lately in the past half a year of my life. When we put a strategy together, and they said, "Well, what was your strategy before?" And I was like, "Hope."
Yeah.
There was no strategy, right? It was just we throw the website out there and we hope somebody finds it and it does well. In this world, we're realizing that hope is not a strategy, and we actually have to put some things in place.
100%. I think just sometimes the online world in industries like this, they can be like the back burner because I don't want to deal with it, right? Or I may not want to spend the time it takes to digging into it, as much as I do on the other parts of my business. When really it's not as complicated as it once was, years ago when we first started versus now. Tech is much more approachable, much more flexible and agile.
That's for sure. It really, really is. So I guarantee almost all these listeners here have a website, 5, 10 years. Mine's 12 years old. I fall in this category painfully as well. Very, very old website. Some of us may have paid for an SEO one point in time of our lives. And of course, after a year, the SEO didn't do what we thought it was going to do. Because, I mean, you guys do some SEO stuff, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we're a full-fledged business growth agency, so we handle it all.
And so for people that have an SEO, right, we give somebody some money and we expect results tomorrow.
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
just not the world of SEO, right?
Correct. Yeah. And my world before all this was sales. So I get it. I was the guy visiting 20 to 30 doctors' offices a day, building relationships for the sake of referrals, and they were immediate, right? It was that day or a week later, it was within that time frame. So I totally get that perspective. And I don't think it's a wrong perspective to have. That's just more on the sales end, right? So our goal is always, how do we get qualified leads into our best salespeople's hands, right? And so the website is just a vessel for that.
Yeah, no, it's true. We have to be patient.
Yeah. Well, and the hard part too is the structure of the website is so pivotal, right? And so that's why we came up with Hyperdrive WP, which is our own framework extension, so to speak, of WordPress, is because no matter how much SEO or content that you pour into a site, if the foundation of it is bloated on a theme or isn't on the right structure, you're just kind of continuing to hang signs on the wall, but you're not actually changing the structure of that wall, right? And so that house is still going to be real rocky, no matter how much paint you put on it, And so that's where the bones for us are so critical. And as we come to the table with clients that have paid for SEO for years. I mean, we've met people that have paid $60,000 a year, and they're like, "Oh, SEO doesn't work," and they didn't pay us that, but other companies. And so it always kept coming back to this foundational issue. And so for us, it's conversation of integrity to the business. We're going to pay for services, even like Google ads or Facebook ads. You're all driving to that same foundational point, which is your website. ChatGPT, all the other LLMs of the world that are coming out, right? They're pulling website content. And so the website isn't going anywhere. It's actually becoming more and more empowered, in our opinion.
I would agree with that. From what limited research we've been doing, AI is a big component. If I just heard correctly, what was it, last Wednesday or 2 Wednesdays ago? Instagram is now part of that search engine.
I'm
Yeah.
so pumped about that. That was a big deal. Anytime, Google decides to adopt something and index something like that, it's a huge deal.
Yeah, that was when I read that, I went, oh my God, all of our things and the hashtagging and all that stuff that for a while there just didn't seem that important. It just
Yeah.
became really, really important.
Yeah, overnight. And that's what they did with YouTube though years ago, right? That's why we've always adopted YouTube. I mean, Vimeo is a good platform. Like it looks fine, it looks great. I think people adopted Vimeo because it has a cleaner player. But YouTube has that shiny red button that people love clicking and they trust. And so that's part of the reason why we only use YouTube embeds, because Google owns it, right? Rewards for it. They're never going to say this. You'll call me a conspiracy theorist, but I think anything that Google has their hands in, they're going to reward. I mean, I have a Pixel phone, for crying out loud, because I think it's going to help my clients. So I'm down the rabbit hole pretty far on that. But
and I can't knock that. I would
Yeah.
agree. I subscribe to that conspiracy theory as well, because why would you not? I mean, if I'm the CEO of a company and I have all these toys, I'm going to reward you for using my toys over somebody else's.
Yeah, it's business 101, right? It's like, okay, so let's adopt that first. But when they first started indexing YouTube videos, right, that was gangbusters. You had these high-end websites where people were paying, thousands of dollars to build these video players that look cool on a website, but the little old YouTube embed is now actually racking up indexing points now, more views, more distribution. They're incorporating YouTube into their Performance Max ad campaigns now. They've been doing that for a couple years. And so again, being in the ecosystem and just being aware of all the little components it takes to really bolt that together, it makes for more of a sound investment than just like throwing up 5 blogs a month for the sake of it.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree with you on that one. And all the in the indexing, I mean, even the back pages, for a while their back pages was going out of style, and now back pages are back. I mean, you want all of that. You and I have talked about a lot of websites that have SEO usually have 50 to 100 pages in the background, even though the end user only sees 4 pages. We have all that back content so that we seem more trustworthy of an authority figure to those search engines.
Yeah, and that's where like the top end navigation, that's always going to be the best place of linking. So homepage, most important, where your links go from the homepage helps tell that story to Google's Spider, of course. They're rewarding bottom funnel pages more than ever before now, which are like the service pages. So again, in your industry, like having service pages and resource pages are highly valuable. Where they went through some phases where it was just all about content and educational content, and that's when the blog world went crazy, right? And now they've really come back around and refined it. And so having content on your website on those service pages or big resource pages helps Google understand, what you want to be an authority in first, and then your blogs and your other educational material can link all that together and compound the interest, so to speak. But they can't just stand alone anymore, right? And they never really could, but you could get away with it for a little while. And so that's where even for our clients, it's like, we have to make sure core content is on there. But in industries like yours, that's the hope. That's and that's the light at the end of the tunnel is like invest in these pages first, make them resource pages, like highly weighted, and then build around it, right?
Yep. So I want to obviously get in the meat and potatoes. The whole reason why I had you on here is a hyperdrive. And when I first talked to you, I was like, "What is hyperdrive?" So you had to explain it to me. So I'm going to give you the bully pulpit here, and by all means, walk us through what hyperdrive is.
Yeah, Hyperdrive is a culmination of what we've been doing as an agency over the last 10 years with our sites, meaning we sign on a partner client and we take partner clients. That's, for us, like our bread and butter of our business. We are in the day to day with them. We're helping them grow their business. We have ROI models built out for them. So when we talk partner client, I'm not talking about just SEO we're doing, right? It's like a full fledged approach. And time and time again, the websites kept growing and kept growing that we were building on our, kind of framework, if you will, in WordPress in this manner. So we originally used the Genesis framework, which was bought out by WP Engine. And I'm a nerd, so I'm a geek out. Anytime WP Engine or a major company buys out a framework, like that's usually a tip of the nod of the cap, right? And so, of course, in our office, we were all cheering because the Genesis framework was a great SEO spine that we would strip out of it and then design around. And so that's how we were doing. And then eventually, credit to our developers for sure. They came to the table in a huge way, and it was like, we can just build our own, right? And by build our own, I don't mean it's like intellectually like our own proprietary framework. I have to be very careful about that because WordPress is open source. But the way in which we organize that framework, the way in which the development team went through and structured it according to what we wanted to see from an SEO standpoint and according to best practices on a development end, really created this product, if you will, now where we've taken this custom framework that we've been building and developing on for years, driving tons of results for, and now making it approachable for all businesses. And so that's what Hyperdrive really represents. It's not just this theme that's out there. I think a lot of your listeners probably have been sold some sort of theme like Divi or Beaver Builder, or something that's a mass-produced theme that has tons of code below, and it's just kind of customized and designed, in a way. But structurally, it's not changing. And so for us, we actually invested a ton of time on the back-end resources, meaning when you log into the back end of it, it looks like a page builder, right? It functions as easy as one. It's module-based. You can add, remove to it, but all your brand standards are locked in. Responsiveness is locked in. And so, again, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, sorry, but Hyperdrive is really this culmination of what we had been using for a decade now, ranking our clients effectively that were, national companies, multi-office companies. I mean, these are big companies. And then also local shops that just needed to compete and have an edge. And so building that into our own framework now has allowed us to say, hey, we can take your existing site. We'll keep the content the same for now, the design the same for now, like the images the same for now. But just by moving it into our framework, most of our clients actually think they get a redesign because it just opens it up so beautifully. All the margins are fixed. Brand standards are held on to. We add our own little design flares to it for call to actions to have more of a conversion-based journey, right? And so that's what Hyperdrive really represents is it's this culmination of learning for a decade, collecting data for a decade, and now being able to have an approachable way for business owners that have an existing site that don't want to go through the rigmarole of a 90, 120-day plan and can have a site in 7 to 14 days live. And time again, it's been awesome. So time and time again, business owners are reporting back, hey, why are my conversions going up? It's the same traffic that's been going to my site, but conversions are up. It's like, well, these are all the little principles we've baked into it that we just take naturally now, right? Also, 10 to 15% increase in indexed keywords. I can't promise that it's going to rank out of the gates, but when I say index keywords, that means Google's picking up your site. And even if you're ranking on the 5th or the 6th page, by indexing those keywords, you're allowing the process to move forward and to move up. And so, again, it's not a promise that it's going to revolutionize your business, but from a website standpoint, it really does. From a website standpoint and the foundation, it's been a total game changer.
And I'm so glad that you guys are pushing this forward with the hyperdrive, because what a lot of people have is they have a website and it looks pretty and it tells all the information, it gives all the pertinent information, and they're proud. It's kind of like their little emblem on their car, and they're stoked and they get to throw it out there, and it represents them. And as soon as it's out there, they don't realize how much it has to connect into everything else. You and me started about talking about YouTube and Instagram and plugging it all together. And with the website, it's the same thing. It's got to be indexed. It's got to be there. And for the people can you tell me what indexing is? Can you kind of give us a little definition on that?
Sure, yeah. So whenever you search on Google, right? I know they have the AI generative searches now. We'll get into that later. But anytime you search on Google, like taco shop near me, right? The way Google shows you, results, just kind of in a very generalized nutshell, is there content on your website that represents what the person is searching for? And if so, is that content written in a way that Google wants it to be written in a way? And is it receiving, any sort of engagement or traffic? And so the indexing portion means this keyword is going to be showing up in this placement of page 1 or page 2 or page 3. And that's all really indexing represents in that capacity. The game changer, though, that's been incredible is Google changed the way users' search intent rings up in their system. And so they have commercial intent now. They have informational intent, topical intent, transactional intent. And so as you can imagine, as a business owner, going after transactional and commercial searches versus just the educational searches is going to have a more qualified lead, right? And so in one of our industries, just as a quick example, the difference between those two keywords is pretty apparent in, intervention therapist near me, right? That's a bottom funnel commercial intent. Somebody's searching for this versus like a topic about like what is an intervention, right? And so Google has become so smart over the last couple of years in discerning this intent and empowering users with it. And, because they want their users to be happy. When they search, they want them to get the exact information they're looking for. And so that intent type delineation has been a game changer, which is why service pages are so valuable now. Resource pages are so valuable. Not that they weren't before, but they're really, making resurgence in a mighty way. So
cool. Well, thank you for that, because it might, a lot of us, we hear the word and we think we know what it means, but at the end of the day, we're like, what was it really? What are we trying to get there?
Yeah, and I get excited, like, if you have 10,000 keywords indexed and only 100 of them are on positions 1 through 10, that means 100 of them are on the first page. But I get excited about the opportunity that the other keywords are there, because when you ring up in Google search like that, even if you're on page 5, it allows you to actually have data to build upon it, right? So if you start indexing for a search term on page 5 or 4, that allows you to say, okay, what resources can I put around that keyword to rank higher? And the other part is like all these keywords are related. So every single search is a different set of volume and difficulty, which is crazy to think about, right? Think of all the times you fat fingered a search. I can see how many times do others fat finger that search, right? So to speak. So it becomes pretty fun when you put all those pieces together. It's not just about one word, but the 500 other variations of that word.
That when you think about that too, how many times have I typed in something wrong? I hit go, and now that's out there in the universe forever, and you're like, oh, I didn't mean to write that.
Exactly. And then you click the autocorrect below, and then it takes you to the other search, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's incredible. Like, I think online, people just assume it's like this nebulous online world. And at the end of the day, people are still people. And that's never going to change. Business is relationships. And so even down to that example, while silly, is true. And you have to like really treat your website and your business the same as you would for that person in the shop, right?
No, it is. It really is. So, all right. So I have an old website. I call you guys up. I go, hey, hook me up with the hyperdrive. Let's get moving on this one. You guys take our site, clone it over, bring it over to where your development department is. And then you guys are going to start working on it. How much input do you need from me? Can I give you new pictures, new videos of the new signs we've done? Like, how much input do you guys need for us when we go down the path?
Great question. So what I would say is our process is predicated on speed because a website is a living, breathing document online. And so that's the way I see it. And a lot of times those changes just take time. And so one thing we don't want to do is disrupt any current rankings. And so that's why we like to move laterally over. So the process is pretty simple. You fill out the form on the website, request a quote. We have flat rate pricing depending on the size of the site. There's 3 main tiers. And then a few days, later, after the contract is signed, right, you request a quote, we give you the quote, you sign it, you pay for it. We actually show you like a new home page. Like, hey, here's what the new home page is going to look like as we transfer it over. I don't think we've ever received in 2 years of doing this like any feedback like I don't like this at all. Like it's always been like, this is awesome. Can you make this button colored a different, right? It's always been great. And so because it's a mass improvement. And so then you give us the green light from that homepage design comp, and then our team gets to work on transferring it all over. And then we show you a staging site as a link, so it's not live yet. And then we flip it live once you give us the green light. And so all of your content, website URLs, pictures, and all that stays the same. A lot of people feel like it's an improvement already just in the way that we reposition them and redesign that way. And then after the post launch is when we like to talk to our clients about, hey, here's what some follow-up services could look like. If you're just wanting some website management and hosting on our platform, here's that price. Or if you're wanting to actually ramp up your business and invest, we have kind of like a smaller digital marketing package for those businesses that are like, hey, I just want to kind of start moving the needle versus like a partnership, which is a full-on full court press, right? But that's the process requires zero resources from you outside of you reviewing a homepage comp, green lighting it, and then your new dev link, green lighting it. There are some little things like logins to your website and logins to your domain, but we take care of all that because even like in the flipping live process, we want to make sure everything is flipped live properly because if it's not, you'll lose all those rankings potentially too.
And I hate to say that, but I was a victim of that a couple of years ago in one of my other companies.
Oh,
we flipped the website over and nobody thought of plugging in from the old stuff, and I had to be re-indexed over the next 6 months. It was brutal.
Oh man, yeah,
absolutely brutal.
Yeah, and you probably never even recouped all of those rankings. You're probably still working on recouping some.
Wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't surprise me. That was a rough one. That really was. And then later on, they're like, well, and the website company is like, well, you didn't bring it up. And I'll never forget that. I'm like, why is it my job to bring up your profession?
Oh, that bothers me so much because that's the battle I fight every day. Because you don't need like a professional license to open up a marketing agency, and that's the stuff we come across all the time, unfortunately. And I hate it because I'm a business owner. Like you're paying them for a service. Like nobody comes back at you if you misuse a signage one way, right? It's like
yeah, it's brutal. It just really was. It sucked. The whole situation sucked, and it's really bad. I mean, I'm going to speak for my industry, but we're a blue collar industry. Nobody went to school to become sign guys. Yeah, you got to have a contractor's license. Yeah, you got to understand how to build stuff so it doesn't fall off the wall and kill people. Like there is some rules, but for the most part, we're a bunch of blue collar guys that are sitting out there welding boxes together and whatnot. So customer service, not really our forte. I can't tell you how many sign companies here in San Diego are my best sales reps because they never return a phone call. So when they call us and we return the phone call immediately, they're instantly like, oh my God, you're great. Yeah, I just picked up the phone. There's nothing great about me yet, but the bar's been set so low that they love me.
That's when you say, hey, can you email my wife? Let me know how great I am. Right? Is that?
She ain't going to believe him. She's not going to believe him. But I mean, that's your world's the same world as mine.
Yeah.
Is there's so many bad apples out there. It's rough to find a good one that they're truly trying to do the right thing.
It is. And that's the bummer is like all that re-education, all that building trust again. I mean, that's just time lost. Like I'm here to grow a business. You can put a toe in the water and not move the needle for 12 or 24 months and think you're doing something, or you can get on top of the tidal wave and then start that process. But it's unfortunate because I look at somebody who goes, I just burned $60,000 in 12 months. And I would have repositioned that differently to get the results desired earlier on, to build the ROI model, to then be on a faster trajectory, right? So it's frustrating when companies, don't adhere to professional standards.
It really is. It really is. And it puts a bad taste in all our mouths. I mean, including me. For the next year or so, I looked at my website. I was like, get away. I don't want to deal with it. And I shouldn't have been. I should have been embracing it and said, okay, we had a bad adventure. Now I need to double down on my time and efforts on the site so I can get the true ROI that I'm looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely agreed.
So, all right, well, cool. Well, I do love the hyperdrive and all that, gets people to speed. And frankly, for us blue collar guys, we're already wearing 9 different hats. We don't have a lot of time to build a website anyway, hence why it's so old and collecting dust in the corner. So, to bring something on like hyperdrive would be a nice, quick nos shot back up into the speed lanes here and get us moving again.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we're built for is, I mean, if you ever want to watch me, build a sign, you can. It's gonna be terrible. I'll come out there and I'll do the deal if your listeners want to see me try to build a sign. But that's the reality is like you gotta build the right team around you and you gotta find everybody's strengths. And it's not about getting the right people on the right bus, but now they're on the right bus, who's in the right seats.
Yep.
And that's where we come in that process is, my goal isn't to have somebody feel like, oh, it's another call with Striventa, it's another check-in call. Like, no, nobody wants that. And so this process, I think it's been cool because people feel like it's a product, right? They get that consistency and convenience of a product, but they still get the local company based in Arizona, Glendale, Arizona, backing it. And so I think we work extremely well with people like you and in your industry for that reason of like, hey, you don't have to stop what you're doing. Just let us do what we're great at behind the scenes for you, right? And you're still the business owner. You'll still get full right, to approve. But I think that's where that marriage works really well.
Just want to take a moment to talk about Square Coil here. Square Coil has been powering the signage industry since 2011, and we're only growing bigger and better and stronger every single day. Some of the latest updates have just made my life a lot easier. I'm sure it's going to make your life a lot easier. So if you haven't checked us out, go ahead and get on our website, squarecoil.com. Take a look. And if you have an outdated key, an old software program that's going to be closing its doors this year, definitely take a look at us because we can make that transition real simple for you. Take a look, squarecoil.com. All right, so you opened the door earlier on this, and let's go ahead and walk through that door. AI and the beautiful beast that it is.
Yes.
What is AI doing for your guys' world?
Oh, it's shaking everything up. So I can kind of break that down just a little bit with Google first, because I think before like ChatGPT and Grok started really making a push, right? We started to see hints of these AI overviews, right, in Google search results. And that's when we started to get more of a glimpse as to how Google is treating it. And so the AI overviews are incredible. They give users what they want, the information summarized, and if they want to learn more, they can click. But as you can imagine, it has absolutely rocked website traffic. Now, they say that it hasn't, but we all know that it has. Like if I'm getting an answer on a search result, why do I need to go to the website, right? And so the beauty about, I guess, us kind of moving into that world was our website structures have been formatted well, ranking well, doing well to where our clients started jumping up. And we had one client who's a national client that jumped up to 1,000 or 1,500 AI overview snippets, just short of a month. So it was cool and to see that ranking. But AI overviews have taken over on search results. This year though, Google comes out with kind of I call it their state of address, state of the union address for Google. And and every year it's like they're always showing you new products and stuff. But this year in particular, AI has been absolutely incredible. So they showed an example that I love using where I want to run a Google Ads campaign and I'm a t-shirt vendor and I take a picture of my t-shirt on the ground, just right there with my phone. I'm going to be able to upload it to the AI ad platform. And I'm going to be able to say, I want this on a 35-year-old female walking down New York City. Generate. Boom. There's my t-shirt. Generated an ad, 35-year-old female walking down New York City. And to see that level of sophistication, shy of a minute or two, that's not rolled out fully yet. Like I think their timeline was December, but just to see where they're moving into, like everybody needs to be taking AI seriously. And then you get into like ChatGPT as an example, and a lot of their reports back have been that the users' searches have been, 20 times as long as a normal Google search, so to speak. So the amount of information and the amount of data they're able to get on users is astronomical. And so now you put that into its own learning process and its own evolving process. Where it's gone from January until now, just in this year alone, has been insane. And so in our world, it's shaking it up. It's getting us to rethink how we want to continue to rank online, right? The website structure will always be good, but now ChatGPT is pulling in more brand affiliations, press releases, BBB. I don't know if you guys are on the BBB or not. I know people, it's very polarizing, the BBB at times. because they're just a pain to deal with as an owner. Sometimes they don't understand the back and forth of like, here's what happened on the job, and here's the contract, and here's the consumer, right? But that needs to be a standard now. Like having those accreditations pulls in, reviews pull in, social presence is getting pulled in. Like this whole concept of like this overarching brand sphere around a company. It's not just based on how you're ranking online, but it's all these other factors now. And so companies are going to have to get real specific. So as an example, if you're going to be on social media, make sure you own one platform first. Don't do the thing where you're on Facebook and you're on Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn, posting the same things. And we all do it. Like it's fine. Like you schedule the posts out and they go out. But the reality is until you're making a significant chunk of change for your business off of one platform alone, don't spend the time it takes to invest in others, right? And so that's where I think AI is getting people to really focus, be specialists, and then stack on, because you need to have the full breadth, right? So your website has to be in order, your SEO content plan has to be in order, local SEO has to be in order, and now it's like, okay, we're going to go after a social media source. What does that look like? Like you have to be aware of it all, and so in our business, it's incredible. I love being able to use it for research, ideation, etc. I am still testing the waters on AI content. Google came out with a huge penalty last year for people that were just spinning up AI content, but now that they're promoting Gemini, right? It's like, okay, do they really care? I think what they've always cared about is the content obviously factual, true? Is it speaking to a human, right? And I think those principles of that consumer interaction will always be there, right? So as long as you're writing real content, it's great. The AI content, I'm doing a couple tests personally, just because I'm curious if I can rank a site with all AI content only for a significant amount of time, not just for a few months, and then Google will catch on. But again, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I have people in our industry that are like, no, you can do it, go for it. But blowing up a site with 50 AI blogs a month is not like, I don't know, like short term, maybe for a couple months. Long term, if they sniff it out, it's still uncharted waters in my opinion. But again, I tend to ride more on the white hat approach.
And I would agree with you, because at some point in time, it's theory teaching theory. This is my biggest conspiracy theory that I talk about all the time. Is kids go to school and they pop out of high school and they go, I don't know what to do with my life. So they go to get their bachelor's degree. They get out and they go, I don't know what to do with my life. And they go, well, go get your master's. And they get their master's degree and they go, I don't know what to do with my life. They say, why don't you come back and teach? And they stay inside this bubble, this education bubble. They never leave the bubble. So now they're teaching theory upon theory, and nobody's actually done it in the real world. And I get those professors and I'm like, hey, what have you done in real life? You ever had a job? Like, no, I've been a teacher my whole life. I'm like, no, I can't learn a damn thing from you. And that AI is the same thing. Theory, teaching theory, and there's no reality inside of it.
Man, what a great example. I'm going to steal that if that's okay, because I've always tried to find a way to like put my finger on what I'm seeing, like with new employees and potentially like, another new clients that are coming out that are young. It's like, yeah, theory, teaching theory. Man, this lie that's been sold to them, like you have to do what you're passionate about, otherwise you're going to fail at life. It's like, no, do what you're great at. Passion will come. Because you're never passionate about things that you suck at, right?
That's so true. Yeah, I loved marketing. Marketing was always the thing that I enjoyed, but I looked at marketing through a little tiny keyhole glimpse, because it was the marketing of me doing sales. I'm marketing my company, but I'm sales. I'm not thinking marketing website. I'm not thinking marketing on flyers. I'm just thinking me selling type that. And I took a marketing class when I was getting my bachelor's degree, and the guy that taught the marketing class, everything he said was the exact opposite of what I did to make myself successful. And I said, but if I do that, then they're going to hit here. And he's like, nope. And then finally, like halfway through the semester, I got a case of the ass. I was just having a bad day. And he said something that was so asinine, so dumb. I just raised my hand. I said, have you ever sold anything for real? And he goes, I've been a professor my whole life. And I was like, and you're a piece of shit. Got it. Yeah. and I was so done. I was so turned off. Like every time he asked a question, I just stare at him. I'm like, you have no idea how to work in the real world.
Oh gosh. I'm glad you spoke up, because when you just let those things pass by, they just continue doing what they're going to do. And it's like, there isn't a playbook in business for when a client stiffs you $30,000 and they're out of the country. And so going after them would cost way more than it's worth, right? It's like, there's no, like, you can learn it all, but the practical application of just not going in the corner and crying and actually facing it and making movement and out suffering and outworking, like that's such a concept that takes you so much further in business that's not impressed upon enough.
You hit the nail on the head. I mean, that shoot, you and me could talk a podcast for hours
Yeah.
about that on you gonna have to roll up your sleeves and do it the right way. And there is no points for taking shortcuts. It's not gonna end well. I mean, even in the website, we can take this thought process all the way through. If you half-ass the website, it's gonna sit there and collect dust. If you do it correctly with the right SEO so it can index correctly, it's going to take your company so much further. And as an owner, you only have so many hours in a day. You have so many hours to think on marketing, so many hours to deal with the production problem, so many to deal with the finance problem, and you're dragged all over hell's half acre trying to put all these pieces together.
And then you got the customer service coming back too. Like,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. I had a doctor friend of mine, and cool cat, been on the show multiple times, and I asked him. I said, how's your business doing?" And he goes, "Aaron, it's all about the 5-star reviews." I said, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "We only tell people what they want to hear, so we get a 5-star review, because the more 5-star reviews I get, the more people come to my place of business." And I was like, "So you don't tell them the truth of what they need?" He goes, "If they're willing to hear it, yes. But if they just go, I just want new reading glasses and that's it, we give them reading glasses and we move on with our lives."
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, what happened to our world?
Yeah.
I need the truth.
Wow.
Hey, you're an
Yeah.
idiot and you have your phone this far to your face. That's why your eyes are all screwed up. Stop doing that.
Yep. Yep. Man, we could talk for hours on this stuff because
Yes.
there's so many war stories. We've been in business for over 12 years now, and yeah, it's a lot of learning lessons of like not just who we are as a company, who we best work with, but the right type of clients. Because I didn't mean to have this, but I think I had a little bit of like a hero complex early on. Like, I can help any business grow. Here are the principles. Like, let's roll. But the business owners have to be willing. Like, they have to be at the table too. It's not just this conversation. I think in our industry, that's where a lot of people get into this mindset of like, I'm just going to stroke a check. They're going to give me some magical fairy dust and unicorns, and I'm going to get calls. It's like, no, as an owner, like, you may not have to be in the day to day or the weeds with us, but you do have to be vested in the North Star and what it takes to get there. Because if you pivot and every month is a new shiny object and every month is a new idea, it's like, and trust me, I get it. I'm a business owner, I'm an optimist, and I'm an entrepreneur. Like, I can get in some real trouble with this shifting, right? But the reality is like, yeah, that's why I always say, hey, blocking and tackling, that's what wins championships. And that analogy, I think, has always kept us centered and always kept our clients centered of like, okay, 6 months in and 12 months in, like, if I can get somebody at 12 months, we rarely lose them. If we do, it's because they built a marketing team internally or they wanted to shift to where it's a different part of their business. But usually at the 12-month mark, it's like everything's rolling, but it's getting to those 12 months, getting even to that 10-month mark. People can get a little squirrely because it's like not an instant sales thing. And I get that. I came from sales, but sales has to work with marketing.
SEOs, website, all that stuff. It is a long game. It is a long game, and it's not for the day traders, so to speak. You got to be thinking about this long term. I'm gonna switch gears up on you a little bit.
Please.
Have you ever cold plunged?
I have, yes. At the gym I go to, there is a cold plunge, and I enjoy it.
Okay, so I do it. I'm not gonna say every morning, but that would be a lie. But the majority of mornings, I get up at 5 a.m. and I cold plunge before I start my workouts.
Nice.
And I laugh at that because being an entrepreneur and being an owner and taking all these things by the home, taking the marketing that we've just talked about on the website, you got to be uncomfortable and you got to have all these uncomfortable conversations in order to get things done. It is shocking to me how easier it is to have the uncomfortable conversations when you've dunked your body in freezing cold water.
Yeah. Yep. Agree 100%.
And something that's happened to me, and I'm going to ask you this question because it's kind of been blowing my mind. After the first month of me cold plunging, the cold plunge reset my fight or flight. And let me tell you about it before you answer if it happened to you or not. Before, I could come up to you and go, "Hey, you MFer," and your adrenaline would spike a little bit. And you're like, "Oh, what's your problem?" You get defensive. After being in the cold plunge, and my body now knows what it's like to die for real because we're getting hypothermia. I could truly die if I stayed in there. My body has reset back to caveman days of a tiger's going to kill me and eat me if I don't get out of here. And it's reset my fight or flight back to what it should be. And so now when somebody comes up to me and goes, "You MFer," I go, "Oh, you're having a bad day." And they won't even get a response out of me at all because my body knows that's not real fight or flight.
Oh, yeah, and that's interesting because you're causing me to reflect on it. I don't know if I'm as hardcore as you every day with the cold plunge. Like I try to get in a couple times a week when I work out, like as like a post workout. I need to do it beforehand. Though. I've never done it beforehand. I've always done it post workout, and so I usually work out 4 or 5 times a week, and then I'll cold plunge a couple times.
So
Um,
I'm going to give you some info here. You're not going to like me for this. If
Bring
you
it
cold
on.
plunge after a workout,
Yeah.
you're shrinking how much muscle growth you're giving yourself.
Oh, really? That's
Yes, because
interesting.
your muscles need more blood to repair. So you're shrinking it, so you're numbing it, so it doesn't hurt anymore, but you need blood flow. So cold plunge afterwards or before to wake yourself up, and sauna after a workout, and it gets all the blood flow where it needs to be to rebuild your muscles.
Nice. I'm gonna do that because I thought it was always just helping my inflammation. Because as I'm getting older, I'm noticing inflammation is everywhere. But I'm gonna try that beforehand too, though, because any little tips or trick, man. I feel like as I get older, it's like New Year. I gotta reset something in the body of like, okay, I gotta get this supplement, this natural, organic, whatever, or I gotta do this type of workout, right? As you age, like it's interesting how that happens. But yeah, I do like knowing that I've already conquered something that nothing else can touch you. And so I'm usually pretty mild mannered in general. Like I love life. Like I said, I'm an optimist, but I do think that doing that and knowing that I've conquered it, or knowing I've crushed a hard workout, like at our gym, they have a couple classes, and I've never been a class guy. I grew up in the LA fitness days where you do your own workout.
You bang plates and move on.
Yeah, and they have some killer classes that are like mixes of like Orange Theory and CrossFit and like lifting heavy weight and running super fast. It's like, yeah, it's the same concept. It's like as soon as I do that in the morning, I feel like nothing else is gonna bother me. Like we've already won the day, in that side of it. So it helps that perspective. So I love it.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I agree. And being an owner is you got to take a lot of risks. You got to take it on the chin and have the uncomfortable conversations. And I hate to say it, guys, the website is one of those hard conversations we got to have because you're like, oh, tomorrow, oh, tomorrow,
Yeah.
oh, tomorrow. And next thing you know, you're like, I'm not getting these leads that I need, and my salespeople are starting to starve. What can I do?
Yep.
It's too late. It takes months.
late.
It's not a tomorrow thing. And so you got to
Yeah.
think about that.
Just real quick on that note, if I may, I'm always happy to chat to you because again, I'm a business owner and I've been blessed to have the team that we have and the clients we have, and everything's running like a machine. We're still human, of course, but I'm on the front end now. And so, if there are any listeners out there that even just want to have a conversation, I can screen share. I can show them the data behind it. Right? This isn't a conversation of like my opinion versus yours. Like I had a client ask me, "Well, what's wrong with my website? Like, why don't you like it?" I said, "It's not about what I think. It's about what do your customers think." Like you're not even your ideal customer, and you've imparted this into your website. So I care more about what your customers think. And so that's the North Star. And so I'm happy to have those conversations because a lot of times, like when you have a website that's been live for a while, you have historical precedent on that URL. So that's huge. Like if you've had a site for 5 or 10 years, even if you haven't been doing anything with it, you've at least had it live. And that's a great resource to work with. So I'm always happy to have those conversations, do a screen share, show the data. It could even be like a Power 15. Like doesn't have to be a formal meeting. Like I'm happy to just be a resource in light of everything we've talked about in the show of past people that have burned you and agencies not doing what they're supposed to. Like I like to be on the front end in education. So yeah, happy to do that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. How can we get a hold of you?
Yeah, so just strivena.com is our website. I'm happy to share my info with you, Aaron, so you can give it to your listeners as well. Hyperdrivewp.com is our other website for this particular resource, and all of that goes to me.
Yep, and we'll put all this information in the show notes down at the bottom so you guys can hear it. Ryan, thank you, man. Thank you for taking time out of your day and coming to talk about this because this is necessary. These people need this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I was honored to be on, and love what you're doing in the industry and the space. And anything I can do to be a resource further, let me know.
You're the man. You take care of yourself.
Thanks. You too.